Cesaro is made for an excellent United States champion. He first defeated the prior champion Santino Marella in the pre-show of SummerSlam 2012, which was held in August, and has been United States champion ever since. Santino Marella, who won the U.S. Championship a year ago today on March 5th, 2012, did absolutely nothing with the championship during the course of his reign. I have nothing against Santino, but him holding the championship was an absolute disgrace. Maybe he defended the championship 2 or 3 times during the course of the 5 months with the title before inevitably losing the championship to Cesaro at SummerSlam. I could not have been happier for that. Cesaro has shown great promise over the last year since his WWE debut last April, defending the title against the likes of Justin Gabriel, The Miz, R-Truth, Santino Marella, Zack Ryder, and many, many others over the last 6 months. So he has really done a great job in making that championship feel important again. Not only that, but his mic skills have improved a lot. His matches are extremely entertaining with the likes of Ryback, Randy Orton, Sheamus, R-Truth, The Miz, many, many others as that as well. Also a fun fact for you as well, given the fact that Cesaro had won the championship in the pre-show of SummerSlam 2012, has defended that championship on every single pay-per-view since then. He defended the championship at Night of Champions, Hell in a Cell, Survivor Series, TLC, Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and hopefully again at WrestleMania. His feud with The Miz appears to be over, but here's hoping that he ends up getting a match at Mania, hopefully against my pick, Christian, a guy that he was feuding with back in August. But that aside, one of the biggest flaws of Cesaro's reign thus far is the fact that he consistently loses matches when he should not be losing matches. Now, before even I say that, before Cesaro held the championship, the title was completely meaningless when Santino held it for the 5 months that he did. It was pretty good before then when Ziggler held it for the 6 months from June 2011 to December 2011. His feud with Zack Ryder was extremely entertaining. I really enjoyed that. And when Ryder finally won it at TLC that December, it felt like a big thing. The crowd popped like crazy, and this was when Ryder was still over like hell. But even still, Ryder made that United States Championship feel important after saying how important that title felt to him, how big it was of a moment to finally win it at WWE TLC 2011. After dropping it mid-January, the title was on the fence a bit when Jack Swagger won it, but Swagger was hardly ever on television. He lost to quite a few matches as well. And then he inevitably lost it to Santino Marella a year ago today. Thankfully, ended up dropping it to Cesaro. And Cesaro has made that championship feel prestigious again, thankfully. But that's once again going down the tubes thanks to his losses to the likes of Randy Orton, Ryback, and Del Rio. Or not Del Rio, that's Wade Barrett. But even still, the same thing applies for Wade Barrett. The United States Championship and the Intercontinental Championship are titles that should be given to guys that are getting primed for the main event scene. And that is the exact definition of what Barrett and Cesaro are. These two are what I can envision to be future World Heavyweight Champion on the SmackDown brand. Now, why are they consistently losing matches when they don't need to? Case in point, last night's match between Wade Barrett and Del Rio. An extremely entertaining match. These guys work extremely well together. But why in the fuck did Wade Barrett lose? I'm not saying that he should defeat the former world champion, but why in the fuck does Wade Barrett have to lose to a guy like Randy Orton 1,000 times when he doesn't need to? Why does Cesaro need to lose to a guy like Ryback when he doesn't need to? Ryback and Orton are over like hell. Ryback picking up victories over guys like Barrett and Cesaro is fine because he's slowly moving up the ladder. But why in the fuck does Randy Orton need a victory over a United States or Intercontinental champion? He's over like hell. He doesn't need to fucking win over guys like Cesaro and Barrett every single fucking week. They're great matches. Don't get me wrong. I love watching them. But what purpose do they serve when the same outcome is occurring every single time they mesh up? I mean, let's go back 20 years ago to when Ultimate Warrior won the Intercontinental Championship from Honky Tonk Man. When Honky Tonk Man, sorry for my botching, held the championship for over a year. Now, once again, another classic sign of the championship making it feel prestigious again. Now, with that being said, he went on to lose a championship to Ultimate Warrior, and Ultimate Warrior went on to WrestleMania 6, I want to say, and faced Hulk Hogan in a championship versus championship match and won. That's when the Intercontinental Championship meant something, and it still does to this day, but not as much anymore, given the fact that Wade Barrett hasn't done shit as champion. Don't get me wrong, I love Wade Barrett. I was extremely ecstatic when he first won the championship back in December because Kingston wasn't doing much with it, and Kingston had already held it for prior 3 times before that, and was proven unsuccessful all those 3 prior times, so why in the fuck would you give Kingston the title again? But even still, I had promised, the title reign of Barrett had promised when he first won it back in December on the final Raw of 2012. But he hasn't done shit with it besides losing to an NXT rookie, Bo Dallas, and losing to Randy Orton every single fucking week, and Alberto Del Rio as well. I want the IC Championship defended at WrestleMania, no doubt, but in the IC Championship and the US Championship, but why the fuck are these guys losing every single fucking week when they don't need to? That's what my problem is with Wade Barrett and Cesaro right now. It's not really their fault. It's more the fact that creative is putting them against guys where they can't fucking win. Guys against like Ryback and Orton. Ryback I could see winning. I'm fine with that. But Orton winning against the secondary champions is completely unnecessary. They should be beating guys that they should be entering feuds with. When Cesaro lost to The Miz a few weeks ago on Raw, the night after Elimination Chamber, I was fine with that because that was helping build a feud between Miz and Cesaro. I was fine with that. But when Cesaro is losing to guys that have no intention of going after his championship, then what's the point in having him lose to them in the first place? The only time a champion should lose a match, in most cases, is when the opponent of the champion is going for the championship, if you know what I mean. Like to guarantee that they get a future championship at some point in time down the line. That hasn't been the case in quite some time with both Barrett and Cesaro. Once again, when Miz beat Cesaro, I was fine with it. But after Cesaro and Barrett have lost to guys like Del Rio, Ryback, and Orton and Sheamus every single fucking week, then what's the point? The matches are entertaining, yes, they're well wrestled, but the outcome is never in doubt, so they prove to be meaningless by the end of it. If WWE wants us to take these championships seriously, in which I did a few months ago when they were being treated as a big deal, the IC Championship hasn't been treated as a big deal since Cody Rhodes first, when he was holding it last year before losing to the Big Show, and the title's gone downhill ever since then. The US Championship is doing a great job since just recently, when Cesaro's been losing all these random matches for no reason. And once again, I want these championships defended at WrestleMania. The IC Championship has been defended at WrestleMania in recent years. Okay, that's fine. But even still, I want it defended regardless. The US Championship hasn't been defended at WrestleMania since WrestleMania 23, when it was MVP versus Chris Benoit. That was, what, 6 years ago? 6 fucking years ago? You go 6 years without having a US Championship match at WrestleMania? That's ridiculous. So with that being said, the US Champions and IC Champions cannot be losing every single week. If they will be losing every single week, at least putting against the guy they're going to be feuding with. Not against guys that don't need wins against the secondary champions. It makes the titles feel completely meaningless and completely irrelevant. Again, with that being said, both Barrett and Cesaro are two guys that I can envision to be future World Heavyweight Champions on the SmackDown brand. But they cannot be losing every single match they're involved in while they're secondary champions, because it makes the titles feel completely meaningless. So here's hoping WWE Creative shifts the direction of the mid-card at the moment, because at the moment there's absolutely no mid-card. Barrett has just been involved in random matches over the last few months since winning the first championship, or since winning the championship for the first time, or the second time I should say. In January 2012, he's lost to an NXT rookie, and he's done absolutely nothing since then. He's been involved in some shit with Sheamus, but that doesn't look like it's going to be taking form at WrestleMania, since Sheamus is going to be involved with the Shield. And then Cesaro has been losing random matches too, because after he blew off his feud to The Miz. I hope that he faces Christian in Mania, because those guys have history after last August, when Cesaro lost his first singles match in WWE to Christian. So that should guarantee Christian a shot at the championship. And Cesaro attacked Christian after the matchup too, so that's a feud right there for you. Hashtag book it. But once again, going back to the point, I digress. But even still, the champions, the Intercontinental Champion and United States Champion should not be losing every single fucking week to people that do not need wins over the Intercontinental and United States Champion, respectively. Anyway, they do not need the victories, guys like Orton and Ryback. Give it to guys like Justin Gabriel, Tyson Kidd. I know he's injured at the moment, but even still, he's a prime example. Guys that could use a mid-card championship and could set them up for a title reign down the line. Guys like Bo Dallas, that was fine too. The whole upset victory, that was made out to be a big thing. But don't have them lose to main event stars like Randy Orton and Ryback every single week for absolutely no reason, because it makes the titles themselves feel completely meaningless, irrelevant, and lose any prestige that they built up to this point. So with that being said, thanks for watching. Really do appreciate it. Make sure to check back for more videos. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and like as well. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at @SaveUsGSM for all the latest updates in regards to this situation and much, much more. Make sure to suggest your rant topic down below as well. I really do appreciate that in addition. So make sure to enjoy the rest of the road to WrestleMania. I certainly am. And this is GSM signing out. Next time, guys.